Welcome to another trip down the Bourbon Road with your hosts, Jim and Mike. So grab a glass of your favorite bourbon and kick back.
We would like to thank our friends at Premium Bar Products for sponsoring this episode. If you're ready to step up your game at your home bar, check out PremiumBarProducts.com to choose from their wide selection of glassware, all of which can be custom engraved with your personal message or logo. And there's no minimum order. So after the episode, head over to PremiumBarProducts.com and check out everything they have to offer. Now, let's get on with the show. Yo, everybody, I'm Jim Shannon.
And I'm Mike Hyatt.
And this is the Bourbon Road, and we are at Mike's house in the basement, but we've got a special guest.
That baby crying in the background. Yeah. We usually don't have babies in our house.
That's all right.
So who we got, Jim?
We got your son, Jake. He's all the way up here from Louisiana. He's come up to drink a little bourbon with us. Well, he's actually come up to visit with his parents, but he's going to drink a little bourbon with us tonight.
Got to be COVID free for the Air Force, so that's why we drink some bourbon.
Yeah, it will kill the virus, I think.
Yes, sir, it will.
I haven't had the virus yet, neither has Mike. I think it has something to do with the bourbon we drink.
Yeah,
I think it does. But Jim, you brought a pretty special bottle from our good friend over there, James. You stopped by and saw him on your way over here. What'd you bring?
So I brought some Calumet. I brought a 14-year-old straight Kentucky Bourbon whiskey.
So it's Calumet Farm.
Calumet Farms.
Named for the famous Lexington farm founded in 1924. Famous for the racehorses over there. They had Whirlaway and Citation. Those are two Triple Crown winners, and they also had 8 Kentucky Derby winners.
Yeah.
So they produced some racehorses there.
So from about 1940 until about 1980, they were like killing it.
Oh, yeah.
Killing it. Now, they haven't had any recent winners.
No, but still a beautiful farm here in Kentucky. If you can go by there and check it out. And obviously, they got into the bourbon business. And this is now they changed the bottle on us.
Yeah. So Calumet has been on the shelves for a while. They're standard release.
Yep.
And, people have probably seen it from time to time on the shelf and not too hard to find. And know it's readily available anywhere in the general area of the Midwest. But, this is a different bottle. This is more like, I don't know, what would you say? Kind of a pappy kind of bottle?
Yeah, it's almost, to me, it's a wine bottle.
Bottle?
Yeah. Still a beautiful bottle. The labels on here are spectacular, though. They do a great job. They got a picture of Calumet Farm on there, and this one stepped it up a little bit. I think the standard is an 8-year, and then they got their 12-year, and then this is a 14-year.
It's a 14, and I tell you what, when something says 14 years on it, it's got my attention.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Now, this bottle is about $115. I think it was exactly what I paid for it with James. James is usually right on market price.
Yeah.
And, you're going to be able to find this at a number of places. It's not going to be, a unicorn.
It's not, but they only had 19 barrels of it.
That's right. So 19 barrels of a 14-year-old whiskey, let's just say it's going to produce somewhere around 2,500 bottles. Fair enough?
That's some quick math there.
That's what I do, man.
I couldn't do it that fast.
Back me up, Jake. Is that about right?
Yeah, I'm not good at math either.
Well, I was just trying to figure out how many bottles are in a barrel, and then you take it times 19 barrels, a little bit of spillage.
I was never the math guy, so that's all you guys.
Now, Jake, let's talk a little bit about you. Now,
Yes.
You're in the Air Force.
Yes, sir.
You've been active duty for how long now?
I'd say so for about 3 years. Been at Barksdale for coming up on 2 years, November 17th.
All right. But you love your bourbon, don't you?
I do.
You do. You're a big Blanton's fan, I think.
Yes, sir. That's what we did last time when they came to visit. Mike brought down some Blantons, and we tried and sampled some of that.
All right. So have you ever had a bourbon that was 14 years old?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
Especially not
$100.
Especially not $115.
Well, sometimes you got to just lay down a few more bills.
That's what I say.
All right. Well, we don't want to waste a whole lot of time here, Mike. I want to get right to the nose on this.
Let's do it.
Jay, you ready?
Ready when you are. Yes, sir.
All right.
So what's the proof on this, Jim?
I think it's a 92. Am I right?
Let me go back. So, Jim, just to get you the proof on this for everybody, this is 96.2 proof, a little bit higher than 90. So, yeah, let's get to that nose.
I'm ready. Oh, yeah. So, right off the bat, I mean, my nose can like zero in on cherry pie. This is cherry pie for me.
With like the baked crust or just the cherries?
Like really rich, deep, dark cherries.
I get a little bit of tobacco, a little bit of leather, and a little bit of oak on that. I know those are standard notes. We usually don't do those standard notes, but it's a 14-year-old bourbon, people. I mean, you're going to get those notes off this.
A little bit of rice spice. I think it's, the nose is not, there's not too much ethanol there. I think 96 proof is probably just about right for this one. It's definitely rich and deep. It definitely shows a little bit of that oaky age to it. Cherry pie, a little bit of rice spice, maybe even a little ginger.
Jake, what are you getting out of this?
As soon as he mentioned cherries, I picked up right on that. Maybe not the cherry pie, but I'm thinking of like almost maybe a maraschino, or I think that's how you say it, maraschino cherry.
Those nuclear cherries?
Something like that.
They're so red that they got to be fake, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they are fake.
You turn a light out, they'll glow in the dark for sure.
That's what I'm picking up.
Yeah, so when you get a group of guys together and you nose a bourbon and everybody's getting that cherry, cherry is the prominent note there. I think for me anyway, it does have. I mean, it does have a little bit of an older kind of a buttery butterscotch kind of note to it that's sort of behind the cherry.
I don't know. It's a beautiful nose on it for sure.
It's got a great nose.
I could get that, maybe a buttered crust. So you get that buttered crust of that cherry pie and put in those, those dark cherries in there. I'm getting that. I'm also getting a little bit of cherry wood in there, like you're used to smoke with, that's wet and you smell that wet wood. Beautiful.
Now the mash bill on this is 74% corn, 18% rye. It's pretty good rye content, and 8% barley.
Now, first we thought Heaven Hill, right? But that doesn't match up.
Normally their mash bill is 78% corn, and this is 74% corn. So a little bit of disparity there. So I don't know. On this one, Mike, I'm not going to try and guess. I'm just going to, we know it's sourced. We know Calumet does not actually make their own bourbon, but this is a source bourbon. But in any case, I just want to dive into it, enjoy it, analyze it, and see what we think.
Let's do it.
Cheers, guys. Not sweet. Not for me.
That's got a punch in the mouth right there.
It does. Yeah, for 96 point whatever proof, it's definitely, again, this is my first bourbon today.
Yeah, that's my first one too.
Okay, so let's give it a pass. Let's not talk about it on the first sip. Let's take another one, because we all know that first sip of bourbon in the day is going to be a little bit bitter. It's going to attack you a little bit more than you almost need a warm up, right?
That thing's like Kung Fu Fighter in there, that first pass. That second one wasn't so bad.
Yeah, a little bit better. It's dry, I think. Not so sweet. They sort of go together, right? Dry, not so sweet.
Yes, it doesn't have a whole lot of sweetness on it. It is a little bit bitterness drying on it, but you would expect that out of the 14-year-old. That oak coming through, those tannins, like a dry red wine almost. Jake, what are you getting Come on now.
I'm just enjoying it.
You're just
right
enjoying it. You don't taste anything?
I don't know. I'm not really sure about what I taste on this one.
Sometimes it's hard to distinguish what that might be. The longer you drink bourbon, the more bourbons you drink, the more variety you drink, the bigger library you build of knowledge and taste in your brain. And it just takes a while to put those together. I would say half the time, Mike, I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, well, sometimes we'll struggle with those notes and stuff, but we both get to try so many different bourbons that, we both have that. I wouldn't say we both have great palates. We just like our bourbon, but like on this one, Jake, I get a little bit of ginger bite on there. And, if you took a fresh piece of ginger when you're eating sushi to cleanse your palate with, and it has just that little tinge of bite to it. Now it's starting to open up a little bit in the glass. That first drink was, like I said, Kung Fu Fighter right there. But as it's opened up a little bit, that cinnamon ginger is coming through.
So that first one, I still think was great right off the bat.
Yeah, I would say, for me, the nose, it was all about cherries. Really was all about cherries. But on the palate, it's more ginger and cinnamon.
Yeah.
See, the nose, I could pick some stuff up, but as soon as I started tasting it, I just got stumped.
Yeah.
Stumped from right there.
It's the nose should have changed a little bit.
It did a little bit.
Yeah.
Not picking up some of the same stuff as when I first nosed it.
Mike, I'm starting to get that leather a little bit on the nose. A little bit of that, more of that ginger, a little less cherry on the nose now. Now the palate's playing a bigger part, I think.
Now that Bruce Lee went in there and kicked your tongue.
Yeah. Yeah, this for a 96 proofer, this has got a bit of a punch to it.
Yeah, I was totally shocked. I was not expecting that for 96. And we recently just drank 120 proofer together, which didn't taste like 120 proof. It was one of the best bourbons I'd ever tasted before. Wednesday show, we had Woodinville on there, and they had a 120, and I didn't expect that to be as good as it was at 120. I thought it'd be just a spice bomb and just burn me up with that at 120, right? Being hot. But
yeah, true craftsman, right?
Yeah, that thing is by far, it stands up there with any bourbons I've ever drank before. I loved it. I said it is one of my top bourbons of all time. This kind of surprised me a little bit. I'm not disappointed in any means by this. This is a great bourbon. Great bourbon. I was just surprised at how spicy it was.
Yeah. So this is a little more, like I said, once it hits your palate, it's a little more ginger, a little more cinnamon. It's dry, not very sweet. Got that leather and oak from the 14-year-old age. This is more of a dry, bold, well-aged bourbon. Not so much in the sweetness range.
I'm getting, as it's opened up a little bit, I get a little bit of sweetness, but just a tad bit on there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pick that up. A little bit of honey in there, but not that much.
You'd think a 74% corn, you think there'd be a little bit of lingering sweetness there at 14 years, but not too much.
Yeah.
But that rye's coming through. You like that spice, Jake?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'd say this. What do you say on the finish on this, Jim?
Yeah, so probably medium finish for me. It's a little bit more of a mid-palate bourbon for me. Not so much, not a great deal of hug, not a lot of lingering finish on the back end of my palate, more on the mid. I think probably the longest lingering taste that I've got is probably that ginger cinnamon.
Yeah, I'm still getting that every time I take a sip of this. I'm almost done with this glass, but I agree with you on that hug. It goes down at about the neck level. It doesn't get down into your chest, and you don't feel that punch down there and stuff. It is a medium finish, and all I'm getting is a little bit of bitterness, and that cinnamon's kind of sticking around. little bit of ginger, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the rye plays a big part in this. I think it's got some nice spice to it. Again, if I had to say on the nose, mostly cherries on the nose, not so much on the palate, but on the palate, it's ginger and cinnamon, dry, not sweet. But it definitely gives you that impression that it's an older bourbon.
Yeah. So overall, for me, this would still be a buy, and it would be an awesome Christmas gift to somebody. If you got a dad that drinks bourbon, or a brother that drinks bourbon, or a husband or a wife that drinks bourbon, you want to buy them a really nice bottle. $115. That's a nice bottle of bourbon.
It's a beautiful bottle. It's got great history behind it. Calumet Farm. It's hard to go anywhere in Kentucky and mention the word Calumet Farms and not have somebody go, yeah, I know who they are. You know, they have put up some major thoroughbred horses, some big winners.
Yeah, and I got to give them props. They didn't go outside of Kentucky and get some whiskey. This is Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. I've beat people up on that before. You know, Sam Houston, Texas legend. They got some, I think it's Indiana juice, I'm pretty sure. You know, you got Andrew Jackson, Tennessee guy. I think they got some Kentucky stuff in there. You know, a legend probably should have that whiskey from where they're at. So, you know, that's just my thoughts on it. Hats off to Calumet Farm for sticking with Kentucky.
So I'm pretty glad I've got a bottle of this. I'm happy to have bought a bottle from James. He definitely gave it a thumbs up and said he'd heard some good things about it. And it's always nice when you go into your local bottle shop, you're talking to the owner there, to just give him an ask. Say, hey, you know, what are people saying? What are your customers saying about this particular bottle? Are they happy with it? Is it flying off the shelves? Is it slow mover? In this particular case, he said his customers were very well pleased with it. They thought it was a good drinker. And yeah, I kind of lean in that direction. I would say that this is probably not going to score at the top of my list.
Nah, I couldn't see that.
But I think it's respectable for a 14-year-old bourbon. I think it's an interesting pour. I think it's something that if you've got it on your bar and you've got some people coming over, this would be something to spur a conversation, to, you know, have a couple of sips of and try something a little bit older. And like you said, Mike, you want to gift a bottle to somebody? Got a great story behind it.
Yeah, beautiful bottle to put on somebody's shelf too, with the label and the story just all together, and I'm sure they would appreciate it. So Jim, you know, some of our listeners and some of our roadies were asking if we could put some recipes up, or when we talking about cooking, because we do talk about cooking every once in a while, right?
We do eat.
Yeah, we do. We love to eat. So what I did is I asked the roadies, I said, hey, if you'll start sending me recipes on our craft review show, we'll post one every show. We'll talk about it. So a couple people that I posted that tonight, and people sent it in already. So the first person that sent one in was Scott Brashear. He is a Coast Guard chief warrant officer. And he sent in, because he's from the Maine area, he sent in a Guinness whoopie pie with Buffalo Trace buttercream.
Okay, tell me about that.
Now, whoopie pie, if you haven't had one, it's like 2 pieces of cake with some, I call it fluffernutter, some cream in the center, like a giant soft Oreo cookie. Jake, you've had those up in Maine.
Like a moon
Yes,
pie?
I have.
Like kind of like a moon pie?
Yeah, but it's just a little bit different.
Maybe like I'd say one of those sweet Swiss rolls.
Yeah.
Almost. It's a Maine. I don't know about New England, but it's a Maine specialty.
Okay.
Everybody knows what they are.
If you go up there, and any little side store will have them homemade. Somebody will have a basket of them there to get. I love them. So
how in the heck did I miss that? I lived in Kittery for a while, and I just missed it.
well, that ain't Maine down there, really.
Really?
You got to drive up and past Portland to get to Maine, right, Jake?
Mm-hmm.
Kittery is practically New Hampshire.
So for the cookie, you're going to take 1 cup of Guinness beer, 1 cup of butter, 3/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder, 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 cups of sugar, 1.5 tablespoons of baking soda, half tablespoon of salt, 2 eggs, and 2/3 cups of sour cream. For the bourbon cream filling, you're going to get 8 ounces of butter at room temperature, 3 cups of powdered sugar, sifted. It says between 1 1/4 and 1/2 cup of Buffalo Trace bourbon cream.
So I go overboard on that a little bit.
Yeah, I'd probably go a cup. I don't know. You can always condense it down. So for the rest of this recipe, if you really want it, we'll post it on our Facebook page, and we'll post it in the Bourbon Roadies. Thanks, Scott, for sending this in. If you want a recipe read out on here, talk about it, send it to me, Mike@thebourbonroad.com. I'll pick one every week. We'll read it out. We'll post it up. And heck, maybe after a year or two, maybe we'll have a cookbook.
The Bourbon Road Cookbook.
Heck yeah.
Cooking with bourbon.
Can I cook, Jake?
Oh, yes, you can cook.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. Well, where can everybody find us?
So you can find us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at The Bourbon Road. You can go on our website, www.thebourbonroad.com. We got all kinds of stuff on there. I write some blogs, not always about the show. It's usually about just what I'm thinking about today. Sometimes I'll go back into the show and divulge a little bit and talk about it just a tiny bit, but not always. Sometimes just what I'm thinking. Sometimes some weird thoughts come out. You never can tell. So we also have a private Facebook group called the Bourbon Roadies.
Yeah, and on the Bourbon Roadies, we are a group of about 1,200 bourbon lovers, like-minded folks who love bourbon, love to take pictures of bourbon, love to drink bourbon, talk about bourbon, review bourbon.
Yeah.
Everything you can imagine in that group, good people, loving bourbon, loving that community. And, we don't tolerate any rudeness in there, though, do we, Mike?
Nope. We just won't deal with it. So, but what I would say is we do have distillery owners and we have master distillers in there, industry folks. Even this past week, we had Pat Heist and Jonathan Licorice from Iron Root. Pat Heist is from Wilderness Trail. Somebody asked a question in there about barrel aging. Both of them chimed in with great answers. And that's what we love about our group so much, that we have those gals and those guys that can help us out, answer those questions, and all our other roadies. We got from experts to the beginner that is just starting out that'll ask that question. You want to come in there and ask a question, you could post a picture of some Jim Beam and say, this is my first bottle ever, and nobody's going to beat you up over it. You go into other groups, that'll happen to you. Not in this group. They're all going to love you. It's a family. We are at 1,200 people.
We are. We did hit that number.
We did. It's growing faster than we ever thought. I never thought we'd have 1,200 people that want to get together and talk about bourbon. So, and we give away bourbon. So, yeah. Jake?
Yes.
Where can we find you at?
You find me at Barksdale Air Force Base. Working on the B-52, keeping that thing going for another 30 years.
Yeah. So, Jake, do you do any social media at all?
So I have a Facebook, no Instagram. Mike keeps telling me to get Instagram. I think just maybe when I come back from leave, I might get an Instagram so I can try to win a free bottle.
So if somebody wants to reach out to you on Facebook and say, Jake, tell me more, what do you like?
I'm at Jake Garrett on Facebook.
All right. Well, I'm Jay Shannon 63.
I'm One Big Chief.
And we will see you on down
the Bourbon Road.
We do appreciate all of our listeners, and we'd like to thank you for taking time out of your day to hang out with us here on the Bourbon Road. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and if so, we would appreciate if you'd subscribe and rate us a 5-star with a review on iTunes. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Bourbon Road. That way you'll be kept in the loop on all the Bourbon Road happenings. You can also visit our website at thebourbonroad.com to read our blog, listen to the show, or reach out to us directly. We always welcome comments or suggestions, and if you have an idea for a particular guest or topic, be sure to let us know. And again, thanks for hanging out with us.